So the MvM update is seemingly pretty close if the block update from June is anything to go by. That's why I decided to look at some maps and missions that are currently on the TF2 workshop. I exclusively looked for completely new maps and their corresponding missions that have been made after the blog post in June. In this video I'll be looking at 10 maps in total. With that out of the way, let's start with the first map and its mission. Cloudpiercer is set at night, and you can tell right away thanks to the big beautiful moon lighting up the sky. A unique detail about this map is how certain robots spawn in. Instead of coming out of the usual carrier tank like in most MvM maps, they use a flying spaceship, which is where things start to get interesting. In every wave you'll see base jumper robots dropping from above. They're marked with a small parachute symbol on the robot's icon at the wave bar, so you'll know when to expect them. There are airstrike soldiers of course, but also some surprising robot types using the base jumper, like Sandman Scouts, Jarate and Bushwhacker Snipers, and even the legendary Holiday Punch Heavies. The map itself has a dedicated tank path and 3 robot spawn points, 2 up front and 1 indoor spawn behind the front lines, so your team has to keep an eye on multiple angles at all times. The back area is indoors, and there's a death pit down below that you can use to shove robots into. Just be careful not to fall in yourself. There was only one mission on the map by the time I tried it out, and it was intermediate difficulty, so it wasn't too challenging, but it did a great job showing off how the map worked and how the whole base jumper gimmick played out. Hopefully more missions get added soon. This map definitely has a lot of potential. November is a super cozy autumn themed map. Everything is covered in orange, from the trees to the buildings, inside and outside. Now gameplay wise, this map switches things up from the usual MvM gameplay. Instead of the robots trying to deliver a bomb to a hatch, there's a capture point right near the red spawn. If the bots manage to capture it, the red team instantly loses. It's clearly marked on the HUD as the main control point. What really makes November stand out is its 5 different robot spawns, labeled A to E. On the HUD, blue points mean robots will spawn from there, and red ones are inactive and won't spawn any robots. There might be times where multiple spawns can be active at once, and sometimes even all 5 are going to be active at the same time. Even crazier, the spawn points can change mid-wave. A spawn that was inactive might suddenly start sending out robots, so your team has to stay alert and move fast to cover the new spawn point. Thankfully, the map's circular layout makes it pretty easy to rotate between points without getting lost. For the mission I picked one on expert difficulty, and it does a great job of showing off the map's unique mechanics. Starting on wave 1, it already forces the team to relocate to a different spawn point during the wave, while the previously active point is now closed. Wave 2 starts out with 2 active spawn points, which means the team is forced to pay attention to both of them. On wave 3, an additional spawn point opens up during the wave, while the previous one still spawns in robots. And on the end of the last wave, all 5 spawns are active at the same time. Not only that, but each point spawns in a boss robot. After defeating all 5 boss robots, you complete the mission. The types of robots used in the mission is also very appropriate for an expert. The waves include a lot of giants paired with Crits Creek medics, buff banner and black box soldiers, and even some custom robots like a buff banner Dragon's Fury giant pyro. All in all, November adds some really cool twists to the game mode. The capture point and rotating spawn points keep things fresh and unpredictable. Honestly, out of all the maps I played in this video, this one might just be my favorite. Comstock's got a lot of high ground and elevated spots. For example, the spawn area starts way up high, and as you head towards the robot spawn, the map slopes down lower and lower. If you need to drop down quickly, there's a tower right in the middle where you can jump down to 2 different lower levels. You don't even take any fall damage when you land at the bottom. The robots spawn from 2 spots, one on the left and one on the right, with a tank that spawns behind the barricade. This map has a control point that the robots try to capture. It works just like the gates in Manhattan. The gate bots try to take over the point, and if they succeed, robots start spawning from that gate instead of their usual spawn points. But there's something new here that Manhattan doesn't have, and that are tanks, specifically gate tanks. They're designed so it's obvious when they're going for the control point, because as soon as a gate tank even touches the control point, it gets instantly captured, unlike robots which have to stand on the point for a few seconds. Tanks just captured right away. Because of that, if a gate tank shows up, your team should focus on taking it down first. Speaking of new enemy types, the mission I played was on expert difficulty, and it had a bunch of custom robots you don't usually see in regular MvM, like soldier bots that shoot multiple homing rockets, mortar soldiers firing rockets in an arc, heavy robots that shoot out rockets instead of bullets, vaccinator medics, and even sentry buster variants like spy busters that can disguise themselves. Oh shit, the spy buster.
What? Spy buster.
And charge busters that use a demo shield charge when they explode. Overall, I thought the map played really well. The custom robots were interesting, though not everyone might be into them. I liked most of them, but maybe they could have cut back on a few of the custom robots. Crossguard takes place in a construction site that's still being built, so expect to see a bunch of warning signs and of course, lots of yellow hardheads.
I built that.
At the front of the map there are 3 robot spawn points, 2 on the upper level and 1 on the lower level, with a separate spawn point just for tanks. There's also an upper area similar to Manhattan, where you can shoot down at the bots below. Down on the lower level, robots can come through one of 3 openings, depending on the bomb's path. Each one leads to a different route to the bomb patch. The tank always goes through the middle and takes a unique path separate from the bots. There are 2 new tank types made specifically for Crossguard. First we got the bulldozer. It works just like a regular tank, but it's got way more health, so it takes a little longer to take down. Then we have the roller. It has less health but moves faster than a regular tank. If you stand in front of this one, it will constantly damage you until you move or die, meaning you can't deal much damage towards it while standing on the front. There are also 2 death pits on the map. They're located on each side and can be used to reset the bomb. The mission I played was on advanced difficulty, with 7 waves total, the last one being a boss wave. The overall mission wasn't anything too special, but it did include the 2 new tanks I talked about. There were some custom bots too, like medic bots with projectile shields and a giant soldier spamming bison projectiles using his rocket launcher. The final boss wave threw in a giant iron bomber demo paired with a giant crit streak medic, giving the demo bot constant crits. Both had a ton of HP and health regen, which made it a bit difficult to take them down. Paired with constant support robots spawning in makes this wave a bit harder than the usual boss wave and mecha engine missions. This map takes place in a nuclear reactor within the Soviet Union. Robots are attempting to blow up the liquefied Australium beneath the bomb patch, so it's up to the mercenaries to stop them. After leaving spawn, you'll find yourself in a long hallway with multiple paths leading to different parts of the map. If you head straight through the hallway, you'll enter a large room with 2 gates that the robots can capture to get faster routes to the bomb patch. There's also a train track here, and a train passes through every second, so be careful. At the front of the map are 4 robot spawn points. Tanks share the lower spawn area with bots, meaning there isn't a dedicated tank spawn location on this map. Motherland introduces some unique robot types and gameplay mechanics, starting with jetpack robots. These bots don't spawn from any of the usual spawn points. Instead, they descend from the sky using jetpacks. Any robot type can use this method, including giants. Then there's the gate jammer. It works similarly to the bomb. Robots can carry it and gain buffs over time. If they get killed, they drop it. If left untouched when it's not getting carried, it eventually returns to spawn. But unlike the bomb, the gate jam is used to open gates. If a robot manages to carry it to a gate, it can instantly open it after a short deploy animation. There's no capture time required. That's why keeping the gate jammer away from gates should be your top priority. And then we have the train, not the one from earlier, I'm talking about this one. It has a massive health pool and spawns directly on the tracks. Once it stops, it begins spawning in support robots specific to the wave. On the wave I played, that included demo bots, shotgun heavies, and giant heavies. The train continues spawning bots until it's destroyed, so make sure to get rid of it quickly. Visually, Motherland is incredibly detailed. The aesthetic absolutely nails the Soviet Union atmosphere. It even has a Russian-style remix of the MvM theme whenever you start or complete a wave. As well as a remix of the unused upgrade station music when you get close to the forward upgrade station. The mission I played was on advanced difficulty. Outside of the unique bots I mentioned, most of the waves were standard, except the final one. The boss was a giant heavy that kept spawning in support bots that were rushing towards the gate. Our team had to split our focus between dealing with him and the support robots. That said, while I really enjoyed the map's presentation and art style, I have to admit it was pretty confusing at times. I found myself lost more than once and being unsure of where the front lines were or how the gate system worked. That might be because it was my first time playing, but the map is definitely not for beginners of the game mode. In Solaris, you're tasked to defend an observatory that's used to study the stars. Coincidentally, there's a meteor shower happening at this exact moment, so it's your job to prevent the robots from destroying the observatory. Right off the bat, one thing stands out. This map is really short. It's one of the shortest MvM maps I've ever played. Short MvM maps tend to lean towards the more difficult side, especially on expert missions. With less distance between the bot spawns and the bomb patch, there's way less margin for error. If you're playing on an expert difficulty mission, expect to spend a lot of time defending on the bomb patch. As for layout, the front section of the map features 3 robot spawn points and 1 dedicated tank spawn. There's also some solid high ground in the form of rooftops, letting players shoot down at robots from above. At first I tried to play a mission on expert difficulty, but after me and my team got completely destroyed on wave 1, probably because of the fact that we only got $400 starting credits and of course the length of the map and the size of the wave bar, we switched to an advanced difficulty mission. That advanced mission felt a bit underwhelming though. It didn't really play like an advanced mission. It was closer to intermediate in terms of difficulty. There was little to no pressure throughout, and most of the enemies were standard Valve robots. I was hoping for at least a couple of custom bots to add a bit of variety. To be fair, the final wave did include a custom boss, a nuclear giant charged soldier. The rockets had huge explosions whenever they hit something. Even though my experience was split, one mission being way too hard and the other one being too easy, I still really enjoyed the map itself. Visually it looks great and the setting is pretty unique. I'd love to see more missions built for Solaris in the future, hopefully with better balance and a bit more creativity in choosing which bots to fight. Manco set out to conquer space. After their successful mission on the moon, now they have their eyes on Mars. They managed to plant trees and plants to replenish oxygen. However, the robots are here to destroy one of the important centers located under the dome, which you need to protect. Since the map is set on Mars, the entire environment has a space-themed aesthetic. It starts with the hatch area, which is indoors and designed to resemble the interior of a spaceship. Once you step outside, you're greeted with a massive outdoor section, complete with multiple indoor structures scattered around for cover, health, and ammo pickups. The front area features 2 robot spawn points and 2 dedicated tank spawns. There's also an additional robot spawn off to the left, a bit further back, which acts as a flank road players need to watch out for. The map includes some nice little touches that really help it stand out, like steam vents you pass through, stylized upgrade station, and metal plates beneath pickups that show icons for health or ammo, depending on what's placed there. Another unique feature is a space-themed remix of the MvM music that plays whenever you start or complete a wave. The mission I played was on advanced difficulty. Overall, it was solid and featured some creative robot variants, like Capper Scouts that knock you back on hit, Flock Pyros that activate their charge when shot, and Giant Kritzkrieg medics. The final wave introduced 2 boss robots, a giant buff banner soldier and a giant pyro. The soldier's buff is extended, meaning it's always active, granting both bosses permanent mini crits until he's taken down. The pyro boss is especially tough, since it has bonus damage, 100 HP health regen every few seconds, and health on kill. Taking him out was a real challenge. In terms of mission balance, there were a few minor issues. At times the pacing felt a bit slow, like at the end of wave 2, where we were stuck finishing off a group of black box soldiers. Though to be fair, we didn't have an engineer, which might have contributed to that. I also noticed 2 missing icons during the final wave, though that could have just been an issue on my end. Postal starts you off inside a packaging plant, which serves as the team's spawn area. Stepping outside brings you to the front lines, where you find a Manco-owned post office, or should I say man mail. Speaking of the front, let's talk about robot spawns. The map features 2 robot spawns on the left and right side, and 1 dedicated tank spawn near the front area. Postal is definitely one of the longer maps in MvM. Just walking to the front from spawn takes a bit of time, but that also means the robots have a longer path to the hatch. To speed things up and offer more variety, the map includes some shortcuts. These can help you flank, get to the front quicker, or engage bots from a new angle. The mission I played was on advanced difficulty, and I was pleasantly surprised by the challenge. It managed to stay engaging without being unfair or overwhelming. Some of the robot types that stood out include a giant sticky bomb spammer demo with multiple crit charged soldiers, caber demos, flying guillotine spamming scouts, which by the way are super scary and they're definitely going to get you to bleed out, and a giant Hulong heater heavy shooting out flares to set you on fire. And on the last wave we have a scout boss robot that has multiple phases. On his first phase, he starts out with a short stop and very little health. Once you destroy him, he spawns again and starts his second phase, where he now has a rocket firing short stop. Once he gets low on health, he switches to the sun on a stick to try to hit burning players, since the support robots are scorch shot pyros. When you beat his second phase, he respawns once again on his third phase, where he's using the critter cola and a short stop that fires out nails. After you defeat his third phase, his fourth and final phase begins, where he's using the mad milk, which he spam throws at the players. After that, he switches back to his short stop to deal damage and heal himself with the mad milk. After you destroy this phase, he gives up and you win the mission. I have to say, this boss fight was a real highlight. It was hilarious and genuinely unique to see a robot using recal canteens to come back, with new weapons and tactics each time. In my opinion, more multi-phase boss fights like this would be a fantastic addition to the MvM experience. Salvage takes place in a junkyard owned by Manco, where they not only store junk and trash, but also destroyed robots from their past battles against them. However, Greyman and his robots are commencing an attack, and they're aiming for the incinerator. The map features 4 intertwining robot paths and 2 separate tank paths. Combine that with a large open layout and multiple routes for players to take, and it's clear that teamwork and coordination are essential if you want to succeed. At the front there are 3 robot spawn points and a dedicated tank spawn. You can climb on top of some containers near the front line to get the high ground and rain down damage, but make sure not to die in the process. There are 2 death hazards on this map. The first one is a giant crusher. Getting too close deals 75 damage, and stepping fully inside will kill you instantly. It can be used to airblast robots inside to destroy them. The second hazard is the incinerator located behind the bomb patch. Falling in will set you on fire and eventually kill you if you reach the bottom. You can also knock robots into it, but it's riskier since it's closer to the bomb patch. The mission I played was on expert difficulty. It only had 3 ways, but each one was long and drawn out, which leads to my main issue with it. The mission felt slow and at times straight up boring. There were noticeable gaps between robot spawns, especially during the first wave, where you'd sometimes wait several seconds with nothing happening. It seems like the mission was set up to wait for previous robots to be destroyed before sending in the next batch. Since our team was holding further back on the map, many robots didn't die quickly, which caused these delays. But honestly, in an expert mission, the spawn should be continuous instead of having to wait for them to get destroyed. That said, there were some standout moments. Wave 2 featured multiple tanks, 3 at the same time to be exact. It also had some unique enemies like heavy robots that shoot out mad milk syringes. There were also giant versions of those heavies, being given crits by giant Kritzkrieg medics, which was kinda scary and also amazing to see at the same time. As for the map itself, it's solid, but the mission I played didn't really deliver due to the poor pacing and wave structure. Hopefully future missions on this map can improve in those areas and make better use of what's otherwise a well-designed map. Mannufactured is a robot factory owned by Greyman that is mass producing a special kind of robot to surprise the mercenaries. More on that later. The factory is right at the front of the map and has 2 robot spawn points, plus a dedicated tank spawn point. One of the main features of Mannufactured is a control point that the robots can capture. But instead of giving them a new forward spawn like in Manhattan, capturing the point opens up a set of big doors that were previously blocking their path. This gives the robots a faster and easier road to push through. And that's not all. When the control point gets capped, a tank that was being held up by a magnet gets dropped and becomes active. So now the defending team has to deal with an extra tank on top of everything else. What really makes this map stand out though is a unique boss robot called the Giant Basher Heavy. It carries a huge shield in one hand while using a shotgun that deals a huge amount of damage. The shield it's carrying reduces any damage you deal, so players need to make sure to shoot at the parts that are not covered by this shield for maximum damage. The Basher Heavy's abilities are as follows. It makes you cause bleed damage if you get too close to it and its shield that's covered in spikes. In addition to the bleed damage, it also knocks you back when you're near him, which makes it way harder to stay on him and deal consistent damage, especially if you're playing as Heavy or Pyro. Fighting the Basher Heavy is honestly a lot of fun. He can deal a ton of damage, but he doesn't feel overpowered or unfair to fight against. I'd love to see more unique robot types like him in the future. Those were all 10 maps I picked out. There were a lot more on the workshop, so it wasn't easy to decide, but I'm happy to say that even if some maps and missions had their issues, I had a lot of fun trying them out. Let me know in the comments which of the maps you liked in this video. I would love to read your thoughts and opinions. And with that, I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.